Hey babe, what you up to?
Getting ready to work in the garden.
How's this road tunnel look here?
I haven't checked this
Can we
one.
take a peek?
Sure. Looks good.
I'd say looks a little
bit droopy.
a little wilty.
It just probably needs a little rain, which I think is coming. But it survived the harsh cold night we had the other night.
Yeah, how cold did it get the other night?
Into the teens. I'm not sure exactly, but
Yeah.
teens.
Like 14 or so.
Yeah.
Pretty chilly.
Yeah. Pretty chilly. Not compared to some places, but for us. Alright guys, we're actually doing 2 videos in one day today. We try and film on the days that Kip's home, but this last week, the day he was home, there was just hardly any time. So we're filming most of 2 videos today. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is we were blessed with some chestnuts from somebody locally here. And you guys see, Esther and Jay, see how there's a little tail on the chestnuts? If those chestnuts have a little tail like this, we just learned, you can plant them and they should sprout. So we have a couple pots here. We're going to fill them up with some fresh soil, and then you guys get to pick out the little chestnuts with tails and we'll plant them. Sound good? Okay.
They need to go down about 4 to 6 inches, right?
That's what the rooster says.
They need to be. They need to go down 4 to 6 inches deep into the soil.
Funny chickens.
Got a crowing contest going.
Alright, here we go. There's the first pot.
There you go.
And
Plant it in.
how far apart should we put these, do you think, love? Well, these are just for sprouting, so we can probably fit
I
like,
would say 3 or 4 in there.
yeah, 3 or 4, maybe even 5. So, do you guys know how far down 4 inches is?
No.
Well, this shovel is about 4 inches, so it has to go pretty deep down in there. You can use the shovel as a marker. How about that? Alright, so go ahead and stick it in there, Esther Pie. Way down deep. Okay, you're next, buddy. There's one. Let's do one right here, bud. Stick it way down in there. All the way down. Good. Alright, Esther. Way down in there. Yeah, it looks like about 4. And we're going to overwinter these pots with all of our other pots here. Way down in there. Yay.
There. So do you see those on chestnuts? You can plant them. Good job, Justin.
Nice big chestnuts up here. Alright, so our chestnuts are going to join the rest of the potted plants here.
Yep. And there we go. All tucked in for winter.
Yep, now we gotta label them so we don't forget what's in there.
Yep.
Alright, now what are you up to, Josh?
We're going to plant some garlic.
Yeah, this is some of our garlic that we've been growing for, I think, 4 years now. And ideally we want to plant our garlic like with raspberries. I think they help raspberries keep bugs away. You can plant them with strawberries to help keep ants off your strawberries. There's lots of different places, but for now we're just going to plant them in this bed here. I'm not even sure what's going to go in here in the spring, but so we got a couple little rows staked out.
How deep do they have to be?
Probably put them about like the chestnuts, maybe not quite as deep. And
Get the shovel over here real quick.
And then we are going to put some mulch over the top of this as well.
Okay.
Some fresh compost and mulch. So go about, if you can, about 3 inches down. Do you want to help, Naderbug?
Here, does you want me to help you? Sure.
So you put it, you want to put the pointy end up.
Like that?
Just like that.
Then let's just cover it in so it don't fall
And if you want, you can bury them all after you've put them all in place. That way you remember where they're at as you go along.
I can do that. You want to peel them off? Okay, now I'll plant them. Okay, how far apart do you think they should be? I'll put them in a big pile right there.
Probably put them like 4 to 6 inches apart, something like that.
There?
Yeah. Cool, thanks guys. All right, while the guys are planting the garlic, I'll share the first thing that we learned this summer gardening. We learned a ton actually, so I'm not going to be able to share everything that we learned, but one big thing that we will definitely repeat next year is this tomato support system that we did. We used strings coming off of the support for all of our tomatoes back here. However, I think next year what I want to do is use a compostable string. We just use baling twine, and maybe it's compostable, I don't know, but hopefully use something that we can just throw into the compost, because it's kind of hard to separate the plants off of these strings when you're done. The other thing is we'll definitely plant the string down with the tomato plants. We just kind of staked them to the ground, and that worked, but not super well. So by the end of the season, the tomato plants were starting to kind of lean and droop on the ground a little bit. And then one of our subscribers mentioned that it's a good thing to plant a banana peel with each plant. So next year, that's another thing we're going to try, is planting banana peels with each of our tomato plants. So we'll have the string, the banana peel, and the plant all going in the ground at the same time, and then as the tomatoes grow, we'll just wrap them around the string for support. Oh yeah, the other thing with tomatoes is they require, at least some of them, most varieties that we grow, require a lot of pruning, or they just get totally out of control. So I think the place that I want to grow tomatoes in the future is going to be closer to the house. That way I can keep up with pruning them. Alright, so another thing that we learned this year gardening is about winter squash. We have a lot of issues in our area with the squash borer and squash bugs, and so just a lot of pests in general with squash. So we've kind of narrowed down a few varieties that we really like, and we also realized this year that the kitchen garden is just not the place to grow winter squash. It took over. We had squash reaching across the entire garden. So we're gonna work on a different location for squash, winter squash, for next year. Our top squash we grew this year was Italiano Rampicante for fresh eating, and it's doing great so far for storage. It's still early, and so we don't know how long it's going to last, if it'll go the whole winter or not, but that was our top. Second place, I would say, was the Pennsylvania Dutch Crookneck. Did fantastic, it's delicious, and so far it's storing really well also. We are hoping to try a butternut, a spaghetti, and an acorn variety next year, new varieties that we haven't tried, so that'll be fun. Okay, the guys are gonna do some more garlic in Joshua's bed over here, because we still have a lot of garlic and we love garlic, so we might as well plant it.
Look how big these strawberry leaves are, they're huge!
Yeah, hopefully we're not planting these garlic cloves too deep. You probably don't have to go quite that deep.
But remember not to bury them over yet.
Alright, yet another thing we learned this summer gardening was that we love the cattle panel trellis that we used for our pole beans. It was fantastic. It worked excellent. The thing that we will probably change for next year is we probably won't grow two different varieties on one trellis. They all kind of overlapped, and then for seed saving, it was just kind of confusing to figure out which seed was for which plant. And then also, I think what we'll probably do is build another double trellis in the garden. And on one side we'll do the pole beans, and on the other side we'll do cucumber. And then each year we'll rotate and flip-flop those. Oh, we definitely learned that with the pole beans, some of them do much better with drought than others. The rattlesnake beans did really good with our summer dry drought time. And then others do better in the cold, like the Bahilde, the purple one that we did. It tends to get going a little sooner and does better in the cold, but it didn't like the dry, hot season. I still definitely want to do Missouri Wonder. That's one that we grew the first year in Missouri, Missouri Wonder pole bean, and it did outstanding, and I wish I would have saved seed, but I didn't. Now I have the seed though. I found it, and I have it for next year. This year we learned that potatoes grow really well under apple trees. We also did sweet potatoes under the apple trees. However, They did well, but they ended up going out into the pathways. Like we just had no pathways left because the sweet potatoes went crazy. So I think we're going to keep sweet potatoes in raised beds where we can keep them a little more under control. And the regular potatoes we'll probably continue to plant under the fruit trees because that just really worked well. I think the last thing I'll share today about what we learned gardening this year, probably the biggest thing for me, is that companion planting it's wonderful, but it's also very challenging. There are so many things to consider when you're companion planting. We ended up having our regular potatoes grow super fast, super huge, and they shaded out the sweet potato plants. And then I also had tried planting beets with them, and the beets didn't make it at all. They got completely shaded out by the regular potatoes. So when you're companion planting, there's a lot of different things to remember. How quickly a plant's going to grow, if it's going to shade other things, what needs sun, there's all sorts of different variables. So that's something I definitely am still going to do, companion planting, but I still have a lot to learn in that area. I want to do a lot more flowers intermixed, but I also want to simplify things a bit and not have so many different varieties scattered throughout the garden. I think for harvesting purposes and just for general care of the plants, it does help to have to kind of clump certain plants together in one or two locations close by. So there are just so many things to learn about companion planting, and I think it really is just a lot of trial and error and experimentation with your location and your soil and what's available to grow in your area. So I'm looking forward to next year including a whole lot more pollinator plants and plants that are going to draw in the beneficial predatory bugs. I've in the past have really only done marigolds and nasturtiums, a few zinnias. I think we did cosmos once, and that's really all we've done for flowers for the most part. So for next year I really want to include more flowers and things that are going to draw in those predatory bugs. How's it going, Josh?
Good.
Is that about a 15 foot row? So now you have 2 rows of garlic. One was a double row. Did you do a single row here?
Yes, I just did a single row here. I might do another row, we'll see.
Okay, well if you have enough garlic, maybe do a double row there.
Okay.
So then we'll have them in just 2 different places, 2 double rows. Look at what these chickens did, guys. This is why we try and keep the chickens out of the garden, because we have a lot of perennials in our garden. If it was just annuals, we'd let them scratch and debug and till. But they have just totally cleared all the leaves from under this fig tree here, which really, we need them to be there. Gonna need to put all these leaves and things back under as mulch to protect our fig tree. And we also had some little tulip bulbs or daffodils, I'm not sure which, being dug out as well that were planted around here. So we're still working on our mission impossible to get the chickens out of the garden. We're getting close. Hey love, what you working on?
Cow's water.
Cleaning the cow water.
Cleaning out the cow water and refilling it.
Cool, thank you.
It's cold.
It is
Had a
cold.
bunch of ice in there, like ice like this thick.
Yeah.
So I overheard you talking about Mission Impossible, trying to keep the chickens out. We only have like, what, 2 chickens?
Yeah, there's really only a couple chickens that still get in here.
Yeah, there's only like 2, maybe 3 that get in there. So
And the ducks, there's a few ducks that still
there's
get in.
still a handful of ducks to get, but the ducks aren't nearly as destructive.
Right.
So they're not a big deal.
And we just got blessed with fencing, so we'll be setting up hopefully a duck area for our main crop.
Getting those ducks.
They're going to work our main crop area.
Yes, indeed. So, good stuff.
Yep, good stuff happening. So there's a little flower bulb already starting to come up. The chickens dug that up there. Go back down. It's not time yet. This whole corner over here by our little fig tree, it's a Celeste fig tree by the way. One of the most cold hardy. I believe Chicago hardy and brown turkey are also very cold hardy. This area, this corner, needs help. We used to have a rose bush here, but we took out the rose bush because it was supposed to be for rose hips, and we have never gotten rose hips from it because the Japanese beetles love it so much. They just devour it every year. Even though it blooms twice, they get it both times it blooms, they devour it. So we thought, well, why keep a super pokey rose bush here? So I'm going to replace the rose bush corner here with some perennial flowers. We're going to put echinacea, which was there but it accidentally got chopped down. So I'm going to transplant some echinacea in this corner, and then I have hopefully some sedum or stone crop coming, and maybe some more flower bulbs and things like that. So hopefully this will just be a nice little corner to draw in all the bees and pollinators to our garden. Had to bring Josh over to help me. I thought this rose bush was already dug out, but it's not, and it's pretty well established. So he's putting his muscle into it. See if he can dig it out of there. All of his weight. There it goes.
There.
It's getting there.
There we go. Nice. It's kind of working now. A little closer. Nice. Okay.
There it is. Cool.
There. It's coming up.
It's kind of sad to pull it out.
Yeah. Got most of
All
it.
right. There it is. Still have some lingering roots to dig out, but.
Yep.
All right. Bye-bye, Rose.
Yep. It's a little bit sad.
It is a little bit sad. That's a rose that we've had in the ground for a few years, and it does bloom really well, but
All the Japanese beetles eat it up.
Japanese beetles love it too much, yeah. So hopefully we can find a rose that the Japanese beetles don't like so well.
Yep.
And there's lots of other things with vitamin C besides rose hips, so. Okay, here it is. Cleaned out that rose bush and transplanted some echinacea. Might put like eventually back in that little bare spot some kind of a decorative grass or something, and then some stone crop or sedum in front of the echinacea, and then some kind of little flower in the front here. And there are a bunch of fall bulbs planted, I think, still in here. There may be some hidden bulbs, and I think I'm going to plant some bulbs in here for spring tulips and daffodils and stuff as well. Cow water's full, and you've been working on the compost over there, huh?
Yeah, I put a whole nother section in on the compost.
Awesome.
So
now we can keep dumping our loo. Alright guys, that's it for today's video. I wish we could have shared more about the things we learned in the garden. There's just so many things that you learn as a gardener, and so hopefully we can share more of those next gardening season. Thanks for joining us today in the garden. We pray blessing over you and yours, and whatever you do, do it with your whole heart.